Good afternoon to all of you. It's great to be back. I hope you're all doing well today. Now, the last live session that I had, I talked about our managing our energies instead of our time. And when we talk about energy, we talk about physical energy, mental energy, emotional energy, and spiritual energy. Today, what I'm going to talk about is managing our emotional self. So, emotions are important to all of us. COVID times are absolutely unprecedented. We've never experienced anything like this before, and we just hope and pray that we don't get to experience anything like that in future as well. To start with, we had the lockdown, which was unannounced. We had to get into it unprepared. Some of us were away from home. Some of us could work from home. Some of us could not work from home. We made our arrangements. Various, we did our various arrangements, and we were quite into it for more than 2 months now. And now what we have is what we call is unlockdown 1.0, and we are again getting into areas of our getting out of our comfort zone. Work from home, we kind of have got into that comfort zone. Now we are coming out of a comfort zone, and a new comfort zone is being created. So let me start with asking that how are you feeling today? How are you today? Some of you will say, you're happy, you're contented, you had a good time with your family, you did things with which you've never done before. You're excited about going back to work, you're excited about how the new things are going to be, and all the emotions which we associate with positive emotions. While some of us are going to say, oh, I'm still very anxious, very fearful, extremely, some of us extremely frustrated with the way things are going, the way things have been handled and things have been going. Some of us are still wondering how our kids going to manage once they start school. Are they going to be taking care of enough sanitization in the school? How is the future going to look like? We are stressed. We have that uncertainty that's going on in our mind. We are stressed. Some of us have some of us are wondering what's going to be with our job. Some of us have already lost our job. Some of us still wondering whether if our job profile is going to change, and salary cuts have happened. How am I going to meet my EMIs, and how am I going to manage my lifestyle with the salary cuts? Some of us have had even more serious issues, like a family member contracting COVID, neighbors contracting COVID, areas being declared as containment zones. So each one of us are going through different emotions. I've lost a very close member in my family, and that too not because of COVID, but we lost him because of whatever reason, a young person. So emotions are real. Emotions are us. Emotions are within us. Dismissing these emotions has been a traditional approach to managing emotions, especially the ones we are. Hi, Omna. Thanks for joining here. And Omna, what I say today, definitely I would attribute what I learned through you. So thanks a ton for being here and encouraging me, for sure. So emotions are us. Emotions, traditionally we've learned to dismiss our emotions by saying words like, it's all going to be okay in the end. Don't worry too much. Oh, you're thinking too much. Things like, okay, try and divert your mind. Probably you should not be watching the news. You just be there. I mean, listen to some music, and anger is not good for you. Yeah, my favorite is anger is not good for you. In Hindi, there's a saying, गुस्से को थूक दो. which literally translated is says that, okay, spit your anger. I wish that was true. We could possibly do that. So, if you look at it, how are we reacting during COVID times? You know, binge watching Netflix, watching the news hour on hour. Some of us overeating, some of us over exercising, some of us actually. Hi Suparna, good to see you there. So, some of us, we've taken our own ways of managing our emotion. But what happens here is, are the emotions controlling us, or are we controlling the emotion? Binge watching Netflix, 100% the emotions are controlling us. So, do we want that to happen? Do we, the anxiety is showing up in our tone, the way we speak to our loved ones, what we speak with them is, the anxiety shows up in all kinds of ways. So again, it's the emotion controlling us and not us controlling the emotion. So in other words, whatever we do or however we act, or our behavior and our actions are determined by our emotions. And would we like to take control of our emotions? Having said that, let me talk about what's resilience. And resilience comes from the word resilio, which is bouncing back. So while it is, we are talking about, it is, when we say emotional resilience, during COVID times, the assumption would be, I would say, is that we are going down and we have to bounce back. But during COVID times, I would redefine resilience. Emotional resilience is managing the emotions throughout the period when we are right now every day out of our comfort zones. Resilience is being able to every day manage our anxieties and fears and our uncertainties, the negative news that we keep getting, managing all of it, and being able to live a more deliberate life. So, in simple words, that it is the manner in which we manage our emotion. It is the way that we manage our emotion in such a way that it is actually helpful to us rather than working against us. Hi Sheel, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining in. So what do we do to manage our emotions? What are the coping strategies we talk about? Now, typical coping strategies which we've learned through our childhood and we manage is either we suppress them or we express them completely. If I'm angry, I kind of throw things around and I scream at people. So both the strategies, if you look at it, belongs to the fight or flight of our reptilian brain, or amygdala, what we call it, what Daniel Goleman calls that the amygdala hijack. That whether we suppress our emotion completely, suppression could be either ignoring them or just putting them aside and trying to pretend that nothing has happened, or we express them completely. Both strategies are not the right strategies. They are going to come back, they're going to give results to us which probably we do not want. If we express them completely, probably at a later point in time, I may realize that the emotional response was not that was not the right response. And if I suppress it, it's going to have impact on my health and my other behaviors going forward. So Viktor Frankl says that Viktor Frankl was a survivor of Nazi camp, a psychologist who survived the Nazi camp, and he says between stimulus and response, there is a space. In this space, as humans, we have the power of choice. And in exercising that choice lies our growth. So if you notice, both suppression as well as complete expression, we are not exercising our choice. It is a reactionary thing. To exercise our choice, what we can do is we can have some deliberate actions to be able to live a more deliberate action, to have a more deliberate action. So, so let me talk about, I've kind of divided into 5 steps as to what we can do. First step that I talk about is acknowledging the discomfort. At this stage, I know I'm uncomfortable. Now, when I'm speaking, I would be talking more about emotions that we classify as negative emotion. But it also applies to emotions which are more positive. So when I acknowledge the emotion, I'm acknowledging that I'm uncomfortable. Once I acknowledge I'm uncomfortable, I take that time out to identify the emotion. So, first and foremost is acknowledging the emotion. Second is naming the emotion. Personally, I feel naming is the toughest bit of it. Now, when I say naming, now I may be kind of, I may be, I may say that I'm stressed out right now, but actually I may just be overwhelmed with the kind of work that I have, or I may say that I'm excited, but in reality I'm happy. So there is these differences between them. Now, remember that when you name them, whether I call them happy or excited, it doesn't matter because this is my own work. So if I define something as happy, whereas I'm actually excited, it doesn't matter because the next steps matter. Next step is write down what is causing the emotion. And again, I'm emphasizing on the fact that we're going to be talking more about negative emotion. So write down what is causing this emotion. So if I'm sad, what are the reasons of of the sadness? Typically, you will find it is not one thing; it is a whole lot of things. So when I sit down and reflect, what is the reasons for the emotion? What are my fears currently? What are the consequences that I'm worried about? Let's say if I've lost my job, and so obviously the fear is that I won't be able to pay my EMI. The fear is how will I get my, you know, how will I get my next interview because I've lost my job, and if in a normal scenario, I wouldn't have resigned until I get another job. So where are the other jobs available? So once I list it all down, it becomes there is more clarity to my emotion as to what is the reasons for the current emotion. So 3 steps going again: acknowledging, naming it, or labeling it. Either ways is fine. The third step is writing down what's causing the emotion. The fourth step we talk about is once I've written the emotion, given the current scenario, what is it that I can do? Now, here, when I write down what I can do, of course, again, going back to the example, I've lost my job, so I say, okay, let me apply here, let me do this. So maybe make a list of companies where I can apply, maybe see which are the job portals, which are the people I can connect with who can help me identify some of the jobs available in the market. What can I skill myself in? Or is there any study that I can do? Is there anything else that I can do which will help me get to the position of asking somebody for a job or going and applying for it? Because applying for a job is not as easy as you may all understand, as we all know it. So that's the fourth step. So writing what all can I do. And the fifth step, which is the most important one, is about finding the courage to do what I can do. So while I may have a wish list of what I can do, I may not be able to do all of it at a time. Pick up 1 or 2 things and finding the courage of what can I do now with this. What is it that I can do right away? What is within my control? So if, let's say, one of the things is contacting a person who's probably CEO of another company, I call that gentleman up or call that lady up and she doesn't pick my call. So now uh, that's beyond my control. But there are certain things within my control. Finding the courage to doing that what is within my control. And courage is definitely not absence of fear. Courage is an act that you do with the fear. So you take the fear along, you're still fearful and you still do a courage. Can I write a blog? Can I make a video like this? Can I go online on Facebook and talk about what I know? So, so these are the 5 steps which will help us manage our emotions. Now let me take the same context, something like something that's happening in my family. So maybe my children don't get up on time, and that's creating a lot of discomfort, or they're not supporting me in the housework, and that's bringing a lot of upset in me. So can I acknowledge that I am upset? First step. Second step, how do I name, what do I name it? Am I upset? Am I angry? Am I anxious? What am I? Let me name it. And absolutely don't worry too much about the vocabulary. It's okay. You just name it. I may name it as upset. Somebody else may name it as angry in the same situation. So it's fine. Let's just go by our definitions. Third step, what is it? What are my fears? What is it that, what is it that, what are the consequences of all these things? What are my fears? Fourth step, what can I do? So in this case, I would also request you not only what can I do, but what is the kind of mother I would like to be? Would I like to be a compassionate mother? So the moment I define that I would like to be this kind of a mother, when I request my children to support me, or when I do those actions in which I engage the children, definitely I'm going to be using the lens of the compassion that I talked about. So, and then lastly, have the courage to do it. So when I say courage with children, there is no point going and screaming, you don't get up on time and you don't do this and you do this and you're kind of making me angry. Instead, can I have that conversation with them? Can I speak with them that, look, because you don't help me, these are the things which are happening. Would you like, can you help me in this? And have a dialogue, have a conversation, and move forward. So going back, the 5 steps that we are talking about is first acknowledging, naming it, labeling it. Third is writing down what is the reasons for this, the reasons for your emotion. When we're talking about reasons, we're talking about what are your fears, what are the consequences. So be as unscripted as you can be. Just keep writing. You don't have to censor it. It's all yours. It's nobody else is going to read it. Then what are the actions I can take? Is there anything specifically, what given the circumstances, what are the actions I can take? And the last step is the actions that I've decided. In that, what is the one thing that I can do right now? Having the courage to do it. Having the courage is, that is not absence of fear, but having the, going along with the fear, despite the fear. I'm doing this show, and believe me, I'm not without fear, honestly. So, so we have to start doing it. So with all this 5, there is one more thing which I'd like to add. In all this, can we be non-judgmental to ourselves? Can we be compassionate to ourselves? When I say non-judgmental, I'm angry that my children are not doing this. I shouldn't be angry. Judgment is I shouldn't be angry, but the fact is I am angry. Okay, so I have the feeling of angry. So I'm sorry, I make one more correction. When I say the word I am angry, I am saying that the whole of me is angry. I'm not Madhujit, I am angry. So I would like to change that to I have the feeling of anger, or I am feeling angry. So that way I am kind of dissociating myself from the feeling. So that's the important that's another part which I missed out whilst talking about naming the feeling. The moment I name the feeling, let's not say I am angry. Instead, it is better to say that I am feeling angry. So when I dissociate, I look at from a third person perspective, I have better chances of managing the emotion. So COVID times are definitely unprecedented. COVID times are bringing new things, new energies, new emotions, and new anxieties. Everything is new. How do we manage them and come out? We are all going to come out of it. There is no way we are not going to come out of it. How do we come out of it strong? How do we come out of it strong? Emotional sense is what is important. How do we not allow our emotions to control us, but allow us to control our emotions? So another thing that I'd like to share is I took the example of losing a job. So there has been a study in which what they did is they asked some people to write down the steps that I just told you. I mean, may not be in the same sequence, but in a manner that write down your emotion. What is it that you can do, etc. And it was found that people who wrote this detailing about their emotions were 3 times more likely to find another job than those who did not write. So this is how, when I say that managing yourself, but allowing emotions to managing you, or managing your emotion, and despite the emotion, how do we go forward? This is what I mean, and there is enough study on that. So that's all for me. Any questions? Please. Okay, so Sheil. Hey, hi Meena, good to see you here, and hi Riaz. Thanks for being there. Sheil says dissociation, sometimes that can lead to pushing actions away, isn't it? It depends how we take it. Dissociation for the sense of naming it. Dissociation not about the emotion, but when we are in the second step. So when I go back to all the 5 steps, acknowledging that I'm uncomfortable, naming the emotion. So while naming, dissociating at that time. I'm not dissociating from the emotion from a different perspective, but dissociating the name. It's not me being angry. I am angry. I am frustrated. I am stressed out. So when I say all these, then I own this emotion, like the emotion as if I own it and it's part of me and I can't do anything about it. Whereas when I dissociate it, I look at it from a different perspective. What else can I do? And when I define as to what is causing the emotion, then I go to the next level as to what is the action that I can take. So here, if I do the 4th step, then the dissociation will not lead me to pushing the action away, but owning the action, and finally the courage to do the action. That's most critical. If I probably, as you say, Sheil, that dissociation in the final step would lead to pushing the action away. Yeah, something will happen by itself, and things will. And in a context, I can understand you, Sheil, because if I'm feeling angry about a certain thing, and I do not acknowledge it over there, and I leave it at that, over a period of time, I may say that, all right, that's okay, let it be. But if I want to take action, I should take action. So instead of saying I am angry, I say I'm feeling angry, and the reasons for feeling angry, and what are the actions I can take. So if I follow those steps, then probably that's not true. Yes, surely the first step is acknowledging that I'm uncomfortable, acknowledging that I'm going through an emotion. Second step is labeling the emotion or naming the emotion. Third step is writing down why I'm feeling that emotion, and that has to be a very detailed list, because if I'm angry, I may be angry at too many things. The 4th step is what are the actions I can take, identifying some of the actions as to what are within my control, what I can take right now. And the final step is, of course, having the courage to take that action. That's the 5th step that I said. And in all this, I have to have a non-judgmental attitude, And I'm sure, yes, you can add much more to that. So non-judgmental attitude and a lot of self-compassion. So so that's it from me. Anything else? Anybody? I'll just wait for a minute, because last time I believe from me maybe like a costume which is mine. I never thought it in this context, Sheil, that seeing the emotion as separate from me, maybe like a costume which is mine, but not me. That's what you're saying? I never thought it in that aspect, but Sheil, I'm happy you brought that up, and I guess that's right. I mean, definitely, it's a costume that I'm wearing, and costume that I need to maintain, and costume that I can't get rid of just because it's with me right now, but I can manage it, and I can have a more deliberate action rather than just suppressing it or reacting to it. Thanks, Riyaz. Thanks for your this. Thanks for your compliment. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for being around. Hope to see you again. Have a good afternoon and stay safe, stay healthy, stay self-compassionate. Thank you so much.